Welcome to the December 2023 call. This is Mike, co-founder of Hummingbot. This is the last call of the year, so welcome everyone and happy holidays. So we're going to have a recap of the recent release. We have a few connectors in this release, and we also have the folks from Bancor on the call who are going to go over their upcoming integration request about the carbon connector. Also, I wanted to give a bit of a preview of a blog post that I'm writing that's going to kind of recap the first 2 years of how the Hummingbot Foundation has gone. I actually wanted to get it done before this call, but as you know, with the holidays, family coming over, it's been a bit of a delay. However, should be out before the end of the year, and it should basically just give a recap of kind of what's transpired over the first couple of years, what we've learned from a governance, from a sustainability standpoint, and try to propose some changes which should harden the system and, in my opinion, create a more decentralized and fair governance system for Hummingbot. Okay, all right. So this release, we just sent out the newsletter, which marks the formal release. The actual GitHub and the Docker Hub were updated yesterday. So now, if you update your Docker images by running docker pull Hummingbot latest, or if you've installed from source, you can just run git pull origin master and it'll update to the latest builds. Just note that if you are installing from source, you also need to compile as well. And I think you may have to install some additional dependencies because we've added a couple of new connectors in this release, Hyperliquid and XRP Ledger. We spent some of our time on expanding the reach of Hummingbot with connectors, adding and removing exchange connector integrations that the community wants. But we actually try to spend the bulk of our time on advancing the framework and introducing new capabilities for Hummingbot. So the thing that we're most excited about, I think, are some of the experiments we're doing around the AI assistant. So what this is we believe that even based on the current state of AI right now, it can ingest a fairly complex set of documentation like Hummingbot and basically personalize answers and basically help users accomplish a variety of tasks. So one of the big friction points we have in Hummingbot is when someone's trying to use Hummingbot, it's still a very complex and hard to use engine. The bugs they see are very localized to their environment. And for us, we think that for every one user who has successfully been able to run Hummingbot and actually get it running and even get a bot running successfully, there's probably 20 other users who maybe gave up during the process. So we believe that by incorporating the documentation, it can actually help in a very short term create an assistant that can help people answer questions and use Hummingbot. And in the future, this thing may be able to even do a lot more. So maybe actually run bots for users, monitor them, and help users really maximize how much they can actually trust this automated process that's going out there and running it for them. So overall, this is still very much in the research phase. I encourage everyone to check out this repository we've created, which contains a few research notebooks that outline how to use how we're researching AI. You can add your OpenAI API key and check it out and basically play around with the notebooks. In addition, we're also adding more functionality in Hummingbot that can help you do more than just market make and run bots. For example, our CTO Fede added an example of a volatility screener. So this is a script that help you find and calculate metrics on various pairs based on the current order book and the past data. And so this could be a good tool for you to decide which pairs should I trade. So you may want to, for example, look at which ones have overbought or oversold, or which ones are more or less volatile. And you can also kind of have this thing provide periodic reports so that in the future, maybe if there's some type of AI agent, it can ingest this bot and run other bots for you. On the connector side, now that I think we have a functional voting system for the community to decide which exchanges we should add. I think we're starting to see, this system working. So kind of like what allows us to focus on, doing stuff like AI is the fact that the community are building connectors like Hyperliquid, like the one for XRP Ledger, and these are, I think, going to advance the reach of the community. So overall, we're really excited, and we want to thank the developers Yan Kung and Wojak, respectively. Finally, there's a bunch of other kind of like cleanup fixes in this release as well. So we address some core issues with the Polkadocs and Injective and MXC connectors. Actually, Gateway, there's been quite a lot of changes recently. In this release, I should mention that because we've added PancakeSwap to the release, and I think Osmosis as well is in this release, the Uniswap v3 LP strategy. And we did this because now it's you can run the strategy on more than just the Uniswap. Now you can run on PancakeSwap as well, and we have a few other connectors in the pipeline like Osmosis. That's one thing. So I think the other thing I want to mention is I have a blog post in the works. Tentatively, it's called "The State of Hummingbot Foundation," and what it is it's basically going to give an update on the white paper that we had published in basically almost more than 2 years ago, before we launched Hummingbot Foundation. So as a recap, Hummingbot Foundation, we wanted to create a Linux-like system where you can maintain this client-side open source code base, but do so in a community-based, bazaar-like fashion, as opposed to Cathedral. By doing so, the idea was that we would use a token to kind of like incentivize this ecosystem based on exchanges, based on developers who are maintaining the code base, and then hopefully the users who are generating volume would be able to support that ecosystem. I think we mostly got the picture right. We had to work out a lot of details in how to make the system work more efficiently. Looking back, I'm actually kind of gratified that we got this overall kind of picture mostly right. But I think what we kind of worked through over the past couple of years was mainly how to make the system more efficient and identify like what are the scarce kind of resources in the ecosystem, and how do you make the token allow the people who kind of value those scarce resources to express their views. The addition of the polls on a quarterly basis has helped streamline voting. In the very beginning, we were voting, if everyone remembers, we were voting on like individual pull requests, every single one in the code base. And so that was kind of like overly complicated and not very efficient. I think that the challenges we've had to overcome over the past couple of years has really been around kind of like how do we make sure that the foundation is sustained sustainably from an economic standpoint. Because our view has always been, in order to kind of be a decentralized community, the fees generated from users who are using the code base, especially in terms of exchange partnerships, should allow us to sustain the operations of the foundation. And hopefully there's an excess which can be used to allocate for the token. However, as you can see from this chart here, in 2022, our core kind of revenue stream, which was exchange fee share, was down significantly from where it was when we started. And this is primarily due to exchange volumes kind of going down. We saw this pattern kind of repeat this year as well. Now we do have an uplift. Now we're seeing kind of exchange volumes come back and fee share go up as a result of the what seems to be the bull market coming back. But I think from an economic standpoint, the main thing we've done over the past couple of years has been to try to reduce our costs so that even if the fee share is something like 20K, it's sufficient to pay for the staff of the foundation and to ensure that we can still operate, test pull requests, serve the community, and issue a release every month. And so and when we started, our payroll was closer to this number here than it was to this number here. And I think the fact that we have higher velocity now with much lower headcount. The other factor has been because we have launched other revenue streams, in particular sponsorships, which we're now kind of starting to experiment with Vega and with other ones that we're going to announce shortly. And we also launched BotCamp, which was a training program that basically serves the more serious member of the community. I think we've been able to kind of essentially, weather the storm and ensure that we're sustainable from an economic standpoint. So what I think this allows us to do is kind of essentially be more, put more effort in decentralizing how the governance of Hummingbot works. The goal of Hummingbot from a governance standpoint is to have a truly decentralized governance system, so that there is no kind of benevolent dictator, so to speak, like let's say in the case of Linux, for example. And for me, that's something that I personally really want, because even though I love Hummingbot, I want to serve Hummingbot more as a user and as a core holder, and I don't want the responsibility of having to be the dictator of Hummingbot. So that's why I think hopefully the system we have now ensures that the way that we're allocating HBot is going to further the advance and goals of Hummingbot while maintaining what's needed to be maintained. So basically, this kind of table in HBot tracker gives you a kind of a bit of a snapshot into how we've distributed HBot since we started. So initially we had 6-month epochs. We were distributing larger amounts to a smaller number of wallets. So we were doing like hackathons, where there's like a large lump sum reward, or we sent a bunch of tokens to Coin Alpha to distribute via the miner platform. Over time, we've migrated toward more smaller, more specific bounties. So today, we're paying out more or less bounties for things like bug fixes, for developers, kind of certain improvement bounties that the community has allocated via improvement proposals, as well as support. We actually do send a bunch of HBot on a weekly basis to people who are answering questions on Discord, and we actually encourage people to sign up for the program and help answer questions and support the community. So overall, I'll outline this more specifically in the blog post, but what I view is that we should be able to allocate a fixed pool of HBot on a quarterly basis or even on an annual basis, and have that pool be allocated to certain functions. So one function might be maintaining exchange connectors. Another function might be supporting the community via answering questions and improvement bounties. And another one might be advancing the cause of Hummingbot via like research bounties, like for instance into AI or into other areas that the community cares about. So I think having a system that allows people to kind of see how they can use HBot to vote for these proposals, and to see kind of like how these proposals are going to benefit them directly in meaningful ways, I think is important. So I think it's kind of like we already kind of have the system working, but I would say we haven't done a great job yet of outlining kind of like what's working, what's not, and kind of like really focusing on the aspects that's working and really fleshing those out. So in my opinion, I think the part that's working is really the voting on a quarterly basis for exchanges, as well as a bounty system that we've developed that incentivizes developers to fix the issues found in all the various connectors Hummingbot supports. So I think if we're able to kind of combine the two and have kind of like the voting have more direct control and be able to allocate those bounties, I think that would actually make the system more meaningful. So that's kind of like what I'll try to propose in this upcoming blog post. Also, as one final mention, I do want to give a shout out to some of the things we're adding. Well, we're always adding new videos to YouTube. So we've added, I think just recently, we've added a video on how we've been researching building our AI assistant using LangChain. Fede created another one on creating this screener script using Hummingbot, and we always publish our community call recaps here on YouTube. So I think that if you subscribe to our channel, you can always kind of just basically get the latest videos on our YouTube. So I guess as the YouTubers say, please like and subscribe. Well, with that, let me hand it over to Tiago, who's going to talk more about carbon and how it can benefit the Hummingbot community.
Hey, Mike. First of all, well, thank you very much for letting me join this call. I'm Tiago. I work supporting integration development for Carbon, which is the flagship product of Bancor. Bancor has been around in the space for quite a long time. I think probably from 2016, 2017. And it has accumulated quite a range of experience with decentralized exchanges. And I think Carbon is kind of the culmination of all of the insights that we've gathered through the years. And really do think that the targeted audience of Carbon is very much in line with the one for Hummingbot. So a lot of potential here for what we can do together. And I'll just start by explaining what Carbon is, and then eventually I'll get into what I think are some of the benefits to Hummingbot users, as well as talking a little bit about our own arbitrage bot, which is all open source. So is Carbon as well, and most of the products that are developed by the Bancor Foundation or contributors are open source. So I think to explain Carbon first, we just have to talk about a bit of the experience we had with tackling impermanent loss. We've realized that probably most LPs in the market are currently unaware that they are taking a short gamma position when they are LPing, which then kind of brought us to thinking that perhaps we need to have a more transparent approach to liquidity provisioning, making markets in such a way that you know what to expect and what to get out of what your liquidity is doing on chain. And this is really what Carbon does. It supports a range of strategies that you can create. You can create range orders, you can create limit orders, both live on chain. Once they're executed, you can be executed on chain against anyone, and you can choose to do it directly via the contracts, through RUI, through an aggregator. Maybe an arbitrageur will pick up your order as well. And we also have an R bot that will guarantee the execution. Well, we'll aim for the execution price to be as close to what you said as possible, of course, with some gas considerations. These orders are kind of just on their own. We call them disposable orders. So say you create an order, that order is traded against, that's really it. Then you can adjust the parameters of your order or add more, deposit more liquidity. And then you have what I think is quite interesting, kind of novel in the space, where you have recurring strategies where you set individual ranges and limits for each side of the trade. So if, for example, you could have a trade between ETH and DAI and choose to buy low on a lower range and sell high on a limit, for example. So you could do, I don't know, right now ETH is 2,300 something. So you could do 2,100 to 2,200 a range, saying that you'll buy if the price dips to that range, and you can sell it at, say, 1,400. What happens with these strategies is that they are linked in the sense that as you're selling into the range, should the price of ETH go down, you'll start getting those tokens that you're buying, in this case, DAI, available to you. So it's recurring in this sense, and it all happens on chain, and anyone can trade against these orders as well. And then the last one is the overlapping strategies that we have, which resemble pretty much the concentrated liquidity experience that you have on Uniswap v3. These are all available to our UI. I'll drop in a couple of links for everyone to have a look. The PR that is currently on the gateway GitHub is connecting some of the functionality, not all of it, particularly the AMM swap functionality. So anyone can arbitrage against Carbon orders because each order in Carbon is essentially kind of its own pool. Because you can choose your own individual parameters, so it's represented by an NFT. This means a lot of different orders are living on chain, different ways to arbitrage, different ways to look at it. We have an RBot that I'll talk to in a bit, but just to say that we have different callers on the ecosystem using different parameters on the way they arbitrage, just to make sure they can guarantee execution, perhaps on just some part of the orders instead of going for a more generalized approach.
Okay.
So lots of opportunity here for arbitrage. Yeah.
Maybe can you give an overview in terms of, I guess, what chains Carbon is available on, as well as what tokens it supports, and also, I guess, what regions is available in. Because we have a pretty global audience, so that's why they probably don't have and some are large, some are small. So,
of course, yeah. Carbon is the governance token for Carbon is BNT. That is the token that was used before for Bancor v2.1 and v3 as well. The Carbon is managed by the Bancor DAO.
What networks is Carbon on?
Oh, it's on Ethereum mainnet. There are some forks now on, I think, Arbitrum, Mantle, Base, Canto. So the connector was built with this in mind. Currently, the execution, these are new forks, so the execution will improve over time. I think for now, Ethereum mainnet has pretty decent execution, and we tracked all of that. We have some channels for alerts where you can see things happening on Carbon. The connectors that are in the PR, there are two connectors. One of them is the AMM functionality to swap, similar to what you'd have with other AMM dexes. And then there's another part of it, which is to create a limit order on Carbon.
Okay.
This limit order, is where you can leverage the ARB Fastlane, which is our open source arbitrage bot.
Okay.
We have 63 unique callers. And it's generally a lot of volume. We use flash loans. There's now a release actually that you can have your own funds, but you can leverage this product as well.
Got it. So when you say the on-chain limit and range orders, are you saying that these are kind of like basically these are not done using I guess. So, can you give more detail on how the technicals work in terms of the limit orders, for example, in Carbon?
Yeah, of course. Well, there's one contract that holds the tokens, and you own an NFT which represents your position, which can be traded against based on the range or the limit you said. You can create a strategy with just one order, two orders. This is quite dynamic in that sense. We generally tend to have this analogy with eBay, where imagine that you're listing something on eBay, and then someone can come and take that price. It's very similar to that.
Okay,
got
it.
So you want to set your tokens there in a strategy, someone can come and take it.
Okay, so it's almost like RFQ kind of thing, where you're basically saying, hey, this is but you are kind of but you have to collateralize the order, obviously, with your.
That's the thing. It's already collateralized. Yeah. So when you go and trade, the liquidity is already available. You don't have to wait for a quote or anything like that. You already get it. You get it immediately.
And what is how much gas does it cost to place an order?
It's relatively cheap because adjusting each strategy tends to involve changing 2 out of 4 parameters per order. So it is quite cheap. I don't know right now numbers, but we've had some people creating strategies for $6 to making changes for $2.
Got it. With the Hummingbot community, what I've always seen is that we see a lot more usage of Uniswap on the forks. We see very little on mainnet, but our community, Uniswap, Arbitrum, Polygon.
That makes total sense. I mean, like I said, we do have some forks at the moment, but I think waiting for execution price to improve a little bit as more players come into the Carbon ecosystem.
Got it.
On those chains.
Got it. Are the forks
I would say that the price is a third to half of creating a position on Uniswap v3.
Okay. Interesting.
And the trade cost is around 120,000 gas.
Got it. 125. Okay, that's not bad actually. How do the forks are the forks part of or governed by by the foundation, or do you guys consider part of them are separate?
So the forks are separate. They run by their own DAO or project or however they choose to run. So we do have some projects that license Carbon on other forks. That's one of the models.
There's a question from a community member, Wojak. Any incentives for maker orders on Carbon?
I'd say the biggest incentive is really that there are no maker fees. We don't have liquidity mining rewards or anything at the moment, and I think the Bancor DAO is generally against running liquidity mining programs on BNT. So yeah, there are no maker fees. I think that's the incentive really. You can set your own spread, so there's not really a concept of fees as far as stuff like Uniswap V2 or V3 goes. You can just set your own whatever spread you want to set. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned there are two connectors for Hummingbot. Can you go? You said one of them is kind of the standard like AMM arbitrage functionality. What does the other one entail?
So the other one creates a limit order. So this is a strategy with one order, which is what we call the disposable strategy. So this is just really a limit order on chain that you can create, and we already have it quite well connected on Ethereum. So you get off that execution.
Okay. Yeah. That one. I'll probably talk to you offline about that one because I do think that functionality makes sense, especially since I think there will be other, what they call it, limit order or RFQ protocols in the future. I would like to kind of try to standardize that in some way so that there's like a standard limit order API endpoint basically for gaming.
Yeah, definitely agree. That's something I thought actually because I do appreciate the fact that the Hummingbot ecosystem is just becoming really, really modular, especially with the V2 strategies, something that I was quite excited to see. And I think even with Carbon, this is where you can leverage stuff, where you can have really complex trading strategies, where you can just edit a strategy on Carbon and you can have that execution on the side, but also cancel it if it's executed somewhere else. It's just, I think, quite flexible in that sense. Yeah.
Maybe one final question is, I just checked because I'm in the U.S. and I said it was blocked, at least for me.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense for what countries Carbon is available in?
We do have a list of which countries are not supported, which I can get to you. But yeah, I think currently access to the DApp is not supported in the US and then some of the sanctioned countries.
Okay. I think that obviously, there's ways around it, but yeah, thank you, Thiago.
Thank you, Mike. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's been a really challenging but fruitful 2023. I'm just glad that we all have weathered the storm, so to speak, and I look forward to even better stuff in 2024. Thanks, everyone.